Hi, I'm Liam Scanlan, or Liam 2, and I have the enviable task of standing between all of you and Crib. How lucky am I? But look, don't feel too sorry for me because my ask is going to be an easy one. I want you to pull out your phones and, most importantly, scan that QR code. And by doing so, you're not just going to be listening to how Hindsight can help you, the OEM, you, the service provider, you, the end user or mind operator, get more from your teams and your products by working better with digital work management. We'll be able to show you and how easy that is to do, which is the other reason why this industry is so good at being second. I want to start with a little bit of my story, which is why I built this slide myself, much to the chagrin of my marketing team. A decade and a half ago, I was a banker, and the skill shortage was so bad, you guys even let me in. And I was employed at BHP. I was responsible for a number of large technology rollouts, and in my time there, I had the aha moment, or several bugger moments, that really led to why Hindsight exists today. So in the course of this little story, I'm hoping to empower you with the benefit of my hindsight, and thus why our business exists. Obviously, we stayed up all night thinking of the name. When you're trying to make technology projects, or indeed any product, be used successfully on site in our industry, it's actually the interaction of several different stakeholders. You have the OEMs, those in the room, you have the service providers, maybe they're distributors, and there's obviously then the end users as well. It's actually quite a complex series of people, regardless of how simple or complex the product that's getting implemented and adopted is. Because that product has to be built, has to be installed, commissioned appropriately, and then it has to be operated, maintained, and troubleshooted. And gosh, we love standard work. But the secret to standard work isn't just there's a manual, there's a digital checklist, someone has sat through a PowerPoint like you all have today. Don't worry, you'll be quizzed on every item at the end. I'm sure total recall will happen. But the most important part is the processes in the middle. And my learning at BHP was, even with some of the greatest system processes in the industry, the reality was it kind of looked a little bit more like this to have stuff get done when you think about the sheer variety of people interacting to make things happen. And so my lived personal experience, because we just didn't have people at the time, I was having to move a wireless trailer around. And so I was that person out on site with a radio, told if I get trouble, don't worry, just dial Bob, call Bob, tell the whole site you don't know what you're doing. And that manual that I had was covered in coal dust. It also happened to be out of date. I did my take 5, I moved the wireless trailer, which is great, and then to put it back up again, in following the manual, instead of loosening the winch, I ended up loosening the pivot point for the mast. $50,000 worth of damage later, I returned sheepishly back to the site access center, and I'm told, don't worry, it's the 3rd time that's happened on this project. And whilst that's my own single lived example in the course of a wider project, I myself was, could have been injured, or some of my colleagues, but more broadly, the trouble was that it meant that that project itself suffered, besides site comms. And that was just one of the 100,000 things that had to go right in order for, in this case, a fleet management system to be well adopted at site. And so the impact for that was felt more broadly. That project itself had safety and quality issues. And just note that I won't name the vendor because they're now a customer of Hindsight, but the felt impact is that that one example of mine was replicated dozens, hundreds of times, and it had nothing to do with the quality of the technology itself. And so when you're existing in a project, and I ask you to consider, if you've heard this phrase before, of, oh no, don't worry, that expert will come to site soon and then they will fix the problem. What that really means is there's an issue with service delivery, there's an issue with process, and it means that you can't force multiply that expertise as much as you need them to have good quality work management. So one of these issues most importantly stood out, and that was the reputational damage to that vendor at the time. Because it was a $100 million project, and it was behind budget and all of those constraints that are inherent in management when you're trying to do things in our industry. So that stuck with me, and fast forward now almost a decade, HINDSITE has been designed to solve that. So you may not have heard of us, but you've heard of hopefully some of our customers here in the room and also throughout the industry. We've designed a digital tool to help them with their work management. And whether they be teams of only 5 people, Robotic Systems is in the room, they're a customer here locally, and they use this for assembly, all the way through to teams with 50,000 people. The secret is to make sure that that digital work management is easy and it's effective. So what have we done? Well, we've taken the spaghetti diagram of all of those different bits and disparate elements of work management, and we've pulled them together into a singular application. Hopefully, I'm tempting you to pull out your phones and scan that QR code. But most importantly, we wanted to make sure that the coordination, the execution, the reporting, and the understanding of how that work gets done or is planned and then executed and reported is made easy. And we do it not just in one element of the product lifecycle, we can be applied all across the product lifecycle, because it all has to work well in order for somebody to be getting the value of the product that they buy. It has to be done to a quality. It has to be make sure that it's the people who are doing the work, they do so safely, and it's repeatable and scalable, and you get the precision that you need. And so it's not just for the front line, but I guess the importance for the bottom line and for those in the room. And I've mentioned safety, I've mentioned quality, but a couple of examples. So Boeing and Boeing Defense, they managed to increase the throughput of their facilities by more than 5% without having to hire any extra people, and they were able to put HINDSITE on top of their existing product suite set that they had. They happened to have quite a mature product set, but even then, that return on investment was, I think they calculated nearly 100 times. With Michelin, we actually got up here and presented last year at the Innovation Roadshow to describe the partnership that we'd created for their mine sites around the world, where they put their MEMS product. And with HINDSITE, they managed to halve the unavailability of that equipment by making sure that those folks in the tire bay could better troubleshoot and maintain their equipment. For a global engine rebuilder, we managed to lower their labor costs because they were able to better effectively utilize those less experienced people in the industry and have those 2 rare experienced people be able to more transparently provide that oversight and the governance and the compliance for their work. And then finally, for all of the field service technicians out there, Hexagon's a great example where we're able to save them and their technicians field time, because those reports are automatically generated, automatically sent to the customer, and all the follow-up actions there really improved their business too. So with all that in mind, I guess my ask is a simple one, which is, there's a reason it hasn't happened yet well across the industry today. It's because it's been too difficult to do. And so I guess from a HINDSITE perspective, what we wanted to be able to provide as a challenge to you is send us a process. Send us something that you've got that's a constraint in your business. We'll digitize it. It takes no time at all in our engine. We've made it very easy to build, very easy for someone in the field to use, and most importantly, it's very easy then to update, change, and adopt for your front line. So please come and see us. I've got myself, there's Dave and Rory in the room as well. I'd love the challenge, and I'd love to be able to explore how we would work together. Thank you very much.